Right now at noon, 3 dead, 1 killed by officers. What we know about the double homicide suspect that led police on a chase that turned deadly. Plus, why a man will likely face even more charges after police seized dozens of guns and illegal drugs. Also, what's on the Salvation Army's wish list as it calls for Christmas in July to help keep people fed? And as Multnomah County plans to shut down some shelters, there are efforts to keep one running, at least for now. Let's begin here at noon with a live look from our Salem Skycam in Sherwood. Just beautiful, right? Blue skies and just greenery below. This is gorgeous. Overall, we are looking at a dry, warm kickoff to the weekend. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pitowanich. Let's start with meteorologist Chris McGinnis. Happy Friday, Chris.
It reminds you why we live here, why we love living here, right? Days like this. Gorgeous sunshine out there. This is the Springs at the waterfront in Vancouver. Dark blue Columbia water below and a bright blue sky above. Not a cloud up there right now. It's currently 70 degrees at Pearson Airfield across the river in Clark County. We do have some clouds. The north coast right now from Seaside up towards Astoria. We still have this low cloud deck that's in place. That should be lifting a little bit as we go to the afternoon. The central coast is already cleared out. Lincoln City actually looks much nicer now than it did earlier. Currently 62 in Seaside and hardly a cloud in the sky here out in Aloha, courtesy of the Explorer Tualatin Valley camera here at the Reserve Golf Course. Just a good looking day out there as well. 75, a little warmer on the west side at lunchtime. 76 in Tigard. Gresham sits at 70. And right now our state capital checks in with 73 degrees at noontime. All right, the plan for today here in Portland, wall-to-wall sunshine. Temperatures inching towards about 82, so within the same ballpark as yesterday, maybe a smidge cooler. We will be cooler tomorrow. And Christine, I think we've got a pretty good batch of cloud cover that's going to come in overnight tonight. I'm going to show you that with Futurecast and have your 7-day coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, see you soon. Thanks, Chris. We are following investigations at 3 crime scenes after a manhunt for a murder suspect ended in a deadly shooting in Seaside. 24-year-old Hayes McLeod was accused of killing 2 men on Wednesday, one in Puyallup, Washington, and the other in Tacoma. Authorities say he took off, and they caught up with him about 15 hours later in the Cove area of Seaside. Officers say when they approached the car, McLeod fired at them, so police from Gearhart and Cannon Beach fired back. Then investigators say McLeod tried to drive away but crashed into a fence. When officers caught up with him, they found him dead inside the car.
I saw that vehicle racing up the hill here towards the property. I thought he would go through my open gates, but he veered to the left and missed my gate and hit part of the fence line on the corner.
I came out and saw rows and rows and rows of policemen, police people with coming out of their vehicles with these big old guns.
Oregon State Police are investigating with the officers involved on administrative leave. No one else was hurt. And we've got an update today on a large seizure of guns and illegal drugs. You may recall, or yesterday rather, the Salem Police Department searched a storage unit that was connected to 47-year-old Michael Brossi and found 24 more weapons. Now, detectives also found illegal narcotics and drug manufacturing equipment. That is all on top of previously finding more than 50 guns, more narcotics, and anabolic steroids after raiding several locations linked to Brossi. He was arrested on Monday with more charges now expected. A woman's death has now been ruled a homicide 30 years later. Back in 1993, a medical examiner determined Astrid Bridges' death was an accident. But this week, investigators announced they'd taken a new look at the evidence. At the time, Astrid's husband had said his wife fell off a ladder while cleaning the gutters. Gresham Police Detective Adam Wright says they'll use technology that wasn't available in 1993, including DNA advances. They're also partnering up with investigators from the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office and using resources funded by a recently passed police and fire levy.
Whether it's a day after a crime happened or 30 years later, those small pieces, things that may seem insignificant, are stuff we will work to build into a bigger piece of the puzzle.
Investigators say it's rare for accidental deaths to later be ruled homicides, let alone for it to happen 3 decades later. Anyone with information should contact the Gresham Police Department. Meantime, in Beaverton, police arrested a Max passenger accused of stabbing and pepper spraying another rider on board a Max train. Just before 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, officers responded to the Sunset Transit Center after a westbound Max train stopped when two men started fighting. Police quickly arrested the suspect, Jesus Verduzco, and the stabbing victim was taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive. The Salvation Army says its Portland area food pantries are feeling the strain as more families turn to them for help. Now, as Corey Johnson explains, the organization hopes the community will get involved in its annual Christmas in July campaign to keep shelves stocked before the need grows even greater.
The Salvation Army says the demand for food is outpacing its supply across its 4 Portland metro pantries, leaving some of its most needed items off of the shelf as more families come to them to seek help. Leaders say fresh produce and shelf staples like rice, beans, pasta, and more are among the hardest items to keep on the shelves. They say higher costs for food, gas, utilities, and housing are making it more difficult for families to afford groceries, while also driving up the cost of restocking pantries. As the need continues to grow, the Salvation Army is now launching its Christmas in July campaign, asking people to partner with them to help keep pantries stocked up for the months ahead. And it doesn't just have to be individuals helping. Businesses, churches, and other agencies can partner too. The Salvation Army says the campaign is a reminder that hunger doesn't take a season off, and you can have the spirit of giving even if it's not December, so families can find things at their pantries that mimic grocery stores.
So there's dry, shelf-sustainable goods, typical things that you would find in your own pantry, like peanut butter, cereal, canned veggies, those types of things. We also have a large walk-in freezer, walk-in cooler where we have frozen proteins, meats, dairy, eggs.
And you can drop off non-perishable food donations at any of the 4 Portland metro pantries available through the Salvation Army. And if you're not able to drop off food, you can also make a monetary donation as well. Back to you.
Corey Johnson reporting there. Hundreds of shelter beds are set to close in the coming months as Portland and Multnomah County leaders grapple with budget shortfalls. On the other hand, the city of Portland trying to keep one controversial shelter open longer than planned, despite pushback from some neighbors. Northrop Shelter in Northwest was set to close last month. They even paid more than a $100,000 fine to end its lease early. But after some negotiations with the landlord, the city says they want to keep it open another 6 months.
It indicates to us that the mayor is very dismissive of the livability and safety issues that he places on neighborhoods when he installs high capacity, low barrier shelters.
People want these shelters shut down, but then when the influx of people going back onto the street and all the people that are going to be homeless walking around sleeping in their tent on the sidewalk, what are we supposed to do then?
The city says because of how expensive it is to run the Northrop shelter, it's unlikely to keep operating through the end of the year. And since we're talking about homelessness in Clark County, a new report from the Council for the Homeless shows last year more than 8,200 people were homeless at any given time. More than half are people who are identified as being newly homeless. One notable increase, the number of homeless kids under the age of 18.
So transportation costs more, housing costs more, childcare costs more. And so for those families that are barely making minimum wage, if not just a little bit more, they're not going to be able to keep up with the increased cost of housing. So they're being priced out.
So tough. Another big takeaway here is that 90% of people who are homeless in Clark County actually come from other places in Washington, with about 6% coming from Oregon. And only half of those people are from the metro area counties of Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas.